Here.
Mr. Bill Magna?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Here. All members of council are here and accounted for. The purpose of this meeting is to bring forth legislation that will be considered by City Council at a future date. With that, we'll start off with Mr. Johnson.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Curdaw?
Yes, Your Honor. A couple of things. Two, coming out of the Planning Committee, an ordinance adopting an amendment of the City of Steubenville's fiscal year 2014 one-year action plan and community development block grant CDBG program, reprogramming the funds. And the second one is an ordinance authorizing advertising for bids for the community development block grant, also known as the CDBG, repair, replacement, and lamp posts of street signs and related facilities in the North End Neighborhood Historic District, authorizing entering into a contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder and authorizing payment thereof. Those are the only two pieces of legislation. I do have a couple of, one under the Pride Committee. Chair has allowed me to, we're going to go in adjacent with the economic development in February 4th. The Pride Committee is going to also meet for the discussion of the signage on the entranceways, since the SRG group will also be there too. The next will be, I have two other things just to remind people of. The No Parent Left Behind seminar for parents is next week, January 21st, 6:30 to 8:30 at Steubenville High School in the diner. It is free of charge. All adults are welcome to attend, and we want to make sure that we emphasize this for our parents. And then the second is just a reminder to the community that this weekend we will be observing Martin Luther King holiday, and there are several events Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday that the city is going to be taking part of. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Curdaw, and we do want to remind them that the service for Martin Luther King will be at 6 p.m. Second Baptist Church on Sunday, and we encourage everybody to join us in the march from the Martin Luther King Recreational Center to Steubenville High School for ceremonies there on Monday, and that will be at 9 a.m. Thank you, Ms. Curdaw. We'll continue on to Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor. Several items this evening. First of all, the ordinance under the Service Committee, and that will be ordinance number 2015-7, and that's in front of us. We talked earlier about Mr. Dolak and his ordinance. It's ordinance authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids for the 2015 City Street Hot Mix and Community Development Block Grant, Street Improvement City Project number 2015-100, subject to the right to reject any and all bids and rebidding that may be required, authorizing the entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute contract as required. That one will be under 3 readings. That's why it's coming to us early. Mr. Dolak has his hand raised. I know.
Yes, there's just a little bit of a conflict, Mayor, because Angie, you read the one for Woodlawn, and that one's actually.
I didn't read that one. Yes.
That did not come.
I thought, okay, I'm sorry.
It's not part of the, that was the third item in the letter. She only did 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And I have this is what I have.
Misunderstood, I'm sorry.
Mr. Metcalf, if I'm not mistaken, I'm getting on my, give it a second. If I'm not mistaken, I think our discussion, and I'll come back to you on it, our discussion for this particular ordinance was to waive the second and third reading. This is going to be our test ground, and move forward with this. So, Mike, we'll get together on the dates, because it'd be effective sooner than that. But I believe the consensus from the committee meeting we held prior to is that on this particular ordinance, we're going to waive the second and third reading, not as an emergency, but it still will not be in effect because of the provisions of what was passed by the voters in the charter. It will become effective 30 days after next Tuesday. This way, when you're advertising, those dollar amounts signed to it and what's required will be okay. Because the way it is now, you'll be expending resources without the final passage, and still the citizens have a right to a referendum. So we're going to bring it in, and I believe that was a consensus.
Yes.
Correct.
I agree. Does everybody else agree?
Yeah.
And as from now on, we're going to indicate when we sunshine legislation that
That's
we're
why I
going
said
to
3
waive-
readings to open it up for
We're
discussion.
going to waive the rule for the second and third when we bring in the ordinance. And I might, if I can, Mr. Metcalf, back up to Councilman Curdahl. The 2 ordinances that you brought in are going through 3 readings
Yes, sir, they are.
and no waiving of the second and third.
I'd like to go back to my committee first. The service committee is made up of myself, Mr. De Loretto, and Mr. Paul. I brought this under 3 readings. Are you guys okay with next week for the matters we discussed earlier because of the timing that he has to do with the advertising, to do a second or the 30-day waiver? So that way, if our committee's in agreement with it, then we will bring it that way. But I'm asking my committee first, if we go ahead and do that, so that way Mr. Dolan can get the advertising.
So the
get all
sunshine
fixed.
that way, and next Tuesday, everybody has a right to vote. He's shaking his head yes and no.
You agree? You agree? It'll come out of committee as the 30-day waiver, or however we're going to call that. Okay, Your Honor, next, if you don't mind, go forward.
Continue.
Thank you. Under Finance Committee, this is an ordinance, number 2015-11, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-75, the existing table of organization of the city of Steubenville. Let me explain this. This comes off of discussions last week that we did have an executive session. First of all, it deals with our financial accountant who was here. It is now gone.
He's in his office.
He's in his office. Okay, so that, and also a new water superintendent, and we will be discussing that in a little bit this evening. We potentially have, a potential, so we need to look at this as, again, a waiving of the readings for 30-day in order to get a new water superintendent here ASAP. Tim, I'm sorry, I stole your thunder on that a little bit. So that's what that's about there.
I believe you're going to make a motion for an executive session.
I am later on that, am I? Yep.
On that subject.
I have it right here. On there. Yep. And next, keep moving here. Service Committee, again, myself, Mr. De Loretto, Mr. Paul's ordinance number 2015-8. This is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to advertise for bids for the Mall Drive and Fort Steuben Drive roadway improvement city project number 2014-114, subject to the right to reject any and all bids, any rebidding that may be required, authorizing the entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute contract as required. 3 readings. Correct.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Utilities Committee. This is myself, Mr. De Loretto, Ms. Kirkdall, ordinance number 2015-9, ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to advertise for bids for Loretto Drive water line upgrades. City project number 2014-126, subject to right to reject any and all bids and any rebidding that may be required, authorizing entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute the contract as required. That is under 3 readings. And I think this is the last one on here. This is also in the utilities, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. De Loretto, Ms. Kirkdall, ordinance number 2015-10. This comes from a meeting we had last week dealing with Southern Cross and Eastern Gateway. The time frame that they're under is very limited. This will come under an emergency ordinance, so that way this could be done and finished prior to Eastern Gateway's graduation ceremonies and the retirement of Dr. Laura Bates. Sorry, Young. Ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into contract with Southern Cross Communications Limited to demolish the old city water tower located in the west end of Steubenville and declaring an emergency. Again, this was discussed in committee at length last week. As you mentioned earlier, I'd like to make a motion that after the sunshine meeting, we go into executive session, and the city manager and our law director would like to discuss labor negotiations, as well as two personnel issues, which I alluded to earlier. One, a potential for a new water superintendent hire, and also update on our finance director open position. So I need a second to that.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that City Council, after public forum, move into an executive session for the purpose of discussing labor negotiations and personnel. Roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtall?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Bill Magna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Di Loretto?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried. Mr. Metcalf.
Lastly, committee meetings, Your Honor, Young's favorite thing. Next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, this is actually not going to be under council, it's actually going to be under the state auditor's office, but just for council to recognize that at 6 o'clock, we're going to hold it in the Puglisi room, Tim,
Yes.
For which?
for the auditors with the
auditors.
state auditors. They're going to give us a final update on our enterprise funds.
What time?
6. That'll be followed up by a regular council meeting. After that, they requested an hour and a half. And then utilities meeting is going to be next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We needed some discussions that need to be handled with the JV Green team. So in lieu of having a long meeting on Tuesday, we're going to go with Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Tim, we can start here in the Puglisi room. If we don't have enough room, we'll move over here. We'll start it there, and if we need to move it, we will. And, Your Honor, that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
The utility committee Wednesday is at 6 p.m.
5.
5.
That's the 21st, Mayor? Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor,
And then the following week, then we still have service at 5:30, safety at 6:30.
27th?
Yes. 6:30.
Safety, we have safety.
safety,
What time?
And
Regarding,
service at 5:30.
6 o'clock,
Safety
yes,
at 6.
and it's regarding,
We should send out more emails and changing of these dates and times.
well, no, that was always set in stone at 6
That's that
o'clock.
one.
But it had nothing, it was regarding just a monthly meeting, but I'd like to make it regarding Mr. Bowen asked me discuss feral cats.
Okay.
And I would also like to have an update on your correspondence with the commissioners on the Justice Center. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Got it.
Your Honor, if I can interject quickly, I just wanted to ask about the ordinance on the replacement pages.
We're not that sunshine on legislation.
I withdraw.
You're jumping the gun.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm done, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Metcalf. We'll now move on to Mr. Paul.
I really have nothing, but I just wanted to quote or steal some thunder from Mr. Di Loretto. I'll keep it short and sweet. I love what you did tonight. I like that. That's how I want this to be all the time. Explain what's going on to us. Is it an emergency? Mr. Dole can come over, or anybody. Mr. Murphy can tell us, and Mr. Murphy does tell us sometimes why we need to get a pump or why we need this. This is what we need. We need to be transparent to the citizens. And this is all I've been asking for the 3 years I've been here. And thank you. And I'm done. Don't see, short and sweet, buddy. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. We'll
Thank you,
move on
Mayor.
to Mr. Bill Magna.
I don't have anything from the committee or anything, but I want to congratulate the city workers for what they did during that ice storm and stuff that we had. I think they did an exceptional job for working around the clock like they did, and I think kudos. And then the other thing is just real quick to reiterate, like the water tower. There's more to that water tower being an emergency than the convenience of them being done by graduation also. That's a dangerous thing. It's rusted, it's rotted. There's a chance the wind could blow off of there, strike a car, a kid, anybody, God forbid.
I'm worried about the workers trying to take it down.
Yeah, it's dangerous. So that That's truly an emergency here.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna, and I had a note here, I completely agree with you. There's no doubts that our maintenance and repair department did a tremendous job in the removal of the snow. I know everybody wants to see blacktop, everybody wants to see concrete, but the systematic way and the orderly way that they progressed through our community and the way the snow fell, it fell windy, cold, icy, stopped, that came down again and all. Our crews did a tremendous job. And Mr. Bolin, if you would relay that to our superintendent, Mr. Beard, and the gentleman in the M&R department. As it was stated earlier, I've been here for quite a few years, and normally every snowstorm I receive some calls and all. This last one, I received only one call, and it really wasn't for street snow removal on the street. It was a woman concerned that we didn't pick up her garbage because it was in a white bag, and she thought they might have thought it was a large snowball. But other than that, I did not receive a call. So hats off to our guys in the M&R.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I say one more thing about this
Mr.
weather
Bill
thing?
Magna.
This, I'd like to see somewhere down the road too, if we can maybe get there was 3 guys out there shoveling snow and everything. And that ain't the easiest job to do, especially doing other work with the city. If we could maybe get some type of industrial snow blower, because they got all the sidewalks on Market, Court Alley, 3rd Street, even the police parking lot here, they could, get at least a path so people could come in and out of that building, but it would be a lot
We use
easier.
it in our recreation department too. There's,
Well, but I mean, you could, instead of having 3 guys down there, 1 guy could handle the snow blower as long as it's a good one, and do the work, so. If we can maybe find our way to do that.
The last one we had, tennis shoe Ernie used. I didn't know how to use it, but he still used it. Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. We'll continue on to Mr. Davis.
Yes, Your Honor, I do have one piece of legislation. This is by council as a whole, an ordinance to approve and adopt current replacement pages to the codified ordinances. And I also would like to take this time again to remind everybody of our Recreation Board meeting. The first one in a couple of months will be held Wednesday at 7 p.m. at a new location at Martin Luther King Center downtown. I hope you all can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We'll move on to Mr. Diaretta.
One request, Kenny, you or Mr. Bullen, how about next week having Mary Beth bring us all the good news? I see where we received quite a few grants for the recreation department. So I know they're not in the south end, but I want to congratulate you and Timmy and Mary Beth for getting the money for the north end. That's where my money's going.
We are going to discuss that at the meeting on Wednesday.
Yes, Mr. Diaretta, after the Recreation Board is informed at the Wednesday meeting of the nature work grant that we received and all, the information will be forthcoming to this council. But a great job with our recreation director, as stated in an email from our city manager to the members of council. That will conclude the sunshining of legislation. We will now move into public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to city council or city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Joe Somarola, 112 Starkdale Road, Steubenville. I've been pretty quiet lately because I lost my voice. I know you like that. But the only thing I like to bring up, and I like to get some information tonight, if anybody knows, people, even tonight when I was watching the 6 o'clock news, they said the FCC is taking complaints about cable, and they're getting a lot of complaints. And I like to complain myself. I went out to the cable company, they raised it $20. That's quite a substantial raise overnight. I mean, and we used to have a committee. Do we still have a committee that, like PUC or watches over, where they report to or they discuss when they're going to raise stuff? Do we still have that commission or whatever it was?
PUCO.
State.
It's the state, PUCO.
Didn't you used to appoint people to that commission, though? Somebody did.
No one locally has ever been appointed to the commission or served on the board.
I mean, there was one local I thought, but I might be wrong.
franchise all one time, we got the franchise.
Well, we still have our franchise, we get our franchise fees, but we have no influence, no say. You can ask Mr. Rapella, and the rate, our rate increases, it's a sore spot with a lot of people, Mr. Cimarella, I can assure you that.
Yeah, I understand the
The
process.
best thing is to do is to contact your state legislators, both your state representative and your state senator, Lou Gentile, your state representative is Jacques Serra.
I just thought I'd find out if they still had that commission.
Mr. Rapella.
And if I can add to the mayor's comments, probably you're the only person who remember this. A long time ago, 15, 20 years ago, we had a contract with the cable company. And the cable company, before they could raise their rates, had to come through us. And we
Because we got a franchise.
Yeah, because we got a franchise fee from them. And then the federal government, through the Senate, they deregulated, and it got to the point where I would say maybe 8 years ago, they don't have to do nothing with us. They don't have to tell us about, before we could talk about channels, what we wanted, we could talk about public access if we wanted. So the federal government just deregulated it, and we're screwed. And the thing that you always got to remember, everybody says, well, why can't another cable company come in? Why can't, up in Columbus, they have...
Time Warner.
Yeah, Time Warner. Well, the problem we have here is this town is wired by and owned by Comcast. So now another cable company can come here, but then they have to wire the whole town. And so that ain't gonna happen. I think we
And
should
there's
be...
been challenges of the space on the
Right,
poles.
on
They
poles.
could purchase Comcast lines, but that's
Right.
too expensive.
I think Mike and I have been in meetings about problems with those poles, about the space on the
Basic
poles.
distance, because there's a lot of providers that are on there already.
Right.
I was just wondering, because this past month, they've been sending out, and they raised the $2 on the things that you have in your house, they raised them $2 each. If you had 4 or 8, there you go. And they used to, like I said, talk about it, at least when I went out there, that girl, they didn't even want to say nothing. All they said was, it's the federal government.
Right.
Well, I hope they're getting big enough that one day they're going to regret some of this stuff, but I just thought I'd bring it up because I heard it on Channel 9 tonight. The FCC is now taking complaints, and if you want to call, and I don't have a computer, I don't have a cell phone, I don't do none of that stuff, but I just thought I'd bring it up and see if we still had that commission, but I guess we don't.
And another interesting point is the fact that we still collect the franchise fee. And our franchise fee, even back in the day, was so historically low. And we started negotiation with the cable one time, and we told them that we wanted up the franchise fee by 3 or 4%, and they passed it on. We found out later that they're going to pass it on to our citizens, so then we didn't get the franchise fee. So it's a sad commentary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, right.
It's a sad thing when, like I say, like you said, you can't do nothing about it. And when they went out there, they were showing me $2 for the modems, that's 4, I got 2, that's fine. But then they started showing the taxes. And they said, that's the federal government, that's the state, they started putting it off. You can't even complain to them. That girl, she used to listen and go with that mouse or whatever that thing is, say, oh, okay, we'll give you the same. It went from 85 to 96 to 115 in the last 3 years. I just thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
David Porton, 228 Ohio Street. I have an issue with, on the street, Sunset Boulevard, right by Brady Circle, right across the street from the high school, where the
Bob Evans.
Bob Evans and Walgreens. I like the water path that you have there, but cars who are going northbound, making a right turn on the Bradley Circle, cannot see you in that sidewalk until it's almost too late. I've almost been hit by a couple cars there already in the past few weeks. Maybe making a no right turn there would be a little bit safer, especially with the students that walk across that street, going towards Bradley, towards
Brady.
Brady. I do apologize.
That's okay.
I'm still new here, so I'm looking out for the citizens because it is. They can't see you because of that the thing that's lifted up in the, to walk down into this, to, I call it subway, 'cause I'm from Chicago, young. You can't see because the metal pole's right there, and so it's almost right at the corner. That's a major safety issue with people making a right turn, because I literally drove that myself, and I'm like, okay, that, I can't see a person there, and people are turning at 10, 15 miles an hour. And what if it's icy or snow and someone's gonna get hit? I just wanna bring that up, maybe we can make a no right turn there, make them go down one more light turn again. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Mark Nelson, live at 272 County Road 26 here in Steubenville. I have a question, I don't mean to waste this body's time, but is it possible, in regards to the previous meeting and the discussions about emergency legislation, is it possible somehow to reformat, and maybe this is governed by the charter and that's why it's not possible, but is it possible to reformat the actual readings of the legislation to do it on a weekly basis instead of on a bi-weekly, or every 2 weeks, bi-monthly, I guess, basis somehow? So I mean, we have this, the regular meetings and the sunshine meetings, but is it possible to turn half of the sunshine session into a regular meeting to do the reading? Would that expedite?
City council has the option of calling for a special meeting at their, whenever they would like it. If they want to do that, they could call for a special meeting on the sunshine meeting nights.
So it could be expedited in that fashion. To be expedited
They
into
have
three,
that
into
right to
3
call
days
for a
even,
special meeting.
into 3 days even if necessary, right? With special sessions.
You have to call special meeting.
You need 3 readings.
Right, but it is possible to do it without going into an emergency, is the question. Whether it's in 3 days or in 3 weeks, it is possible.
If they call for a special meeting.
Okay, thank you.
As long as you have notification of the special meeting.
You have to give 72 or 48 hours, or through 72 hours. 72 hours. As long as you give 72 hours notice that there's a special meeting other than our regular meetings every 2 weeks, city council could have that flexibility. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Hi, William Isaac, 39 Lawson Avenue, Second Ward. I just want to say this meeting tonight was good because it constructed dialogue. That's very important. That's what really is. So whether people think you guys hate each other, we need constructive dialogue. That's utmost important. The only other thing I got to say is I think you might be in precinct 2-1. You're not a registered voter, but here's a registration form. There's a reason for
Is
this.
there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Kurt worked on 3903 Maplewood Way. Recently, we had a family emergency at our house. My wife called 911 because my father-in-law was having some problems. With that, Steubenville Fire Department arrived within 3 minutes, and approximately additional 3 minutes, Wintersville Fire Department arrived, and when they took care of our emergency and such. Wintersville also let me know that they've been in the city 3 times a day on emergency calls and for ambulance calls. And I keep hearing all this about the local ambulance service is tied up with doing transports, and therefore, you know, I think that there needs to be an investigation or something to look at the amount of runs that is being made for emergency persons, emergency situations in the city versus the transports. Why I'm bringing it up to you folks is, under the city ordinances, chapter 703, you folks are the ones that have or provide a license that is required for them to do business here in the city, as well as renewal of the license. And, you know, so 3 minutes for fire department to arrive, another 3 minutes. 4 minutes is the danger zone for somebody to be brain dead with no oxygen. This is why I'm bringing it up to you folks. If you ever try to call for a 911 emergency and transport, this may be something you folks might run into, as well as other people are running into.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, I will ask the chambers to be cleared and we'll move into the executive